They say patience is a virtue. Well, I say so is watching or listening to the Blue Monday podcast. Hello, welcome to the Blue Monday podcast. Following Ipswich Town, up or down since 2015, my name is Craig Fimbo, and joining me, fiddling with his lights for tonight's live Q&A is it Benjamin Bloom, the man in the silhouette, the man in darkness, in shadows?
Well, hopefully you can see me now. Obviously, I've got a lot of feedback about how boomy my new room is and how not very light it is. It's a work in progress, Craig. How are we?
Yeah, all right. And when I said the man in the shadows, I didn't mean Hank Marvin.
Oh, Cliff Richard.
And can anyone name any of the other? Nah.
Apache? Oh, members, not songs. No, Hank Marvin.
So yeah, how's it going? All right, but how's your DIY? How's your IKEAing going, to create a verb?
Not too bad, not too bad. I would have loved to have been there last night, actually. I did Leicester versus Nottingham Forest, which was quite ugly for Nottingham Forest. And as you've had children, as you know, with a very young baby, 2 football matches in 2 nights in a row is not a thing at all. But I watched with great interest. I'd be interested to see what the chat says. I was trying not to be disappointed when Plymouth scored. I've got to get onto this. No, focus, tunnel vision. Doesn't matter if Plymouth score 120 points. We just got to do our thing. But yeah, really reassuring performance. What was your take?
Yeah, pretty much that. And I say, what we'll do, I'll go through get some comments up and say we'll say hello to a few people. But from my perspective, and certainly people around me, and chuck some comments in the section, is there was just a trusting of the process. There was very little panic, both on the pitch and off the pitch, and I thought that was really, a real plus point for the crowd in general, was that there was just a constant support of the team rather than any, bemoaning the fact we're going backwards again. It was just patience all around the stadium that, yeah, actually we've got this, So
you build up that trust with results, though, don't you, Craig?
Yeah, of course you do. Yeah, and people aren't silly. They can see. No, Ipswich fans aren't stupid. They can see with their own eyes what's going on. They're not idiots. Right. Let's say hello to some people. Lee, good evening to you. You and Paul Cooper. Charlie D, as ever, good evening. OCG ITFC, good evening to you. Kirk, you've got a fascinating and wonderful surname there, Kirk. Flim Flam, here we are again, chaps. Yes. Well, that's not a euphemism. You're bleeding your radiators. Yes, that's very important. Obviously,
does that happen every 4 weeks?
Bit of a mild spell at the moment, so you don't need your radiators on, people. What I have done, actually, Flim Flam, since you asked, is I descaled my kettle this week. So
God. We talk about the football.
Oh yeah, actually, we've got a game to talk. Unfortunately, last week, me and Dave had very little football to talk about, so we went here, there, and everywhere. So. Yeah, we'll talk about football, Flim Flam. No, Kirk, I don't believe it is. Chris, get your priorities right, please. Champions League in the background, I suppose. We'll let you off with that. Lee, good work. It's all about house maintenance. Yeah, it's something you do now, which your future self will thank you for in a few weeks' time when you suddenly need to use them and they're all clogged up with air. Gary, good evening to you. Yes, hello. John, good evening to you. There's a lot of radiator talk. We can probably knock that on the head, fellas, to be honest. So we've got 2 important games we've had recently. Let's talk about those, shall we? Charlie, you really should call David D before any radiators are bled. Well, you can call him. If you could call him about, I don't know, 8:19 on Sunday evening.
Right, yeah.
That'd be fantastic. Charlie D, look, here he is. Ben in the bunker.
The new
Ben,
bunker.
And Ben not in the host chair. We've turned tables because Ben wanted to talk about stuff rather than ask about stuff.
Ben just didn't want to do any work.
Yeah, that as well.
You can do all the work tonight.
Yeah, I'll do all the clicking of buttons. It makes it sound a lot more complicated than it is. Andy, good evening to you too. Kirk. Yes, it does sound. Well, no, it did. It didn't. It didn't. As you can see in the background from Ben, it's got some soft furnishings in there now. So,
Be
and he's
patient.
stocking up on egg. What are they called? Egg cartons.
Soundproofing, yeah. Be patient. We will get this. Look, I wouldn't be here because we'd be next door to the sleeping baby, who is literally, as we're talking, she just moved her arm, so I can actually talk while I'm in here.
Fantastic! Look at that. We even get live pictures of Ben's child. Look at that. Wonderful stuff. Good evening to you, Tractor Factor. Big fan of the pod since the early days. Who wasn't, Tractor Factor? Mark, how are you? Yeah, there was a few people actually missed last night. There seems to be a bit of an illness going around. I've got a bit of a
Yeah, you sound a
stinky.
bit groggy.
Yeah. I managed to make it there last night, but I know there's a lot of people seem to be struggling. So if you are struggling, hope you're feeling better, and I hope you managed to catch wind of what went on last night, whether it be on the stream or via your Telegram group, which is pretty active again as ever. David, good evening to you. FPL Tractor, good evening to you. Christopher, good evening to you.
Get your questions in, by the way, guys, while this is all going on. And hit the thumbs up button.
Can't help himself, can he?
No.
We've got to use the word out. You can't say the word thumbs up without using the word algorithm, Ben. It's kind of a contractual thing. Mullet and Romeo. Right, perfect. There's a good chunk of hellos there. So yeah, what we'll do, get your comments and your questions in about last night. We've got Ben here, and what I'd like you to do, Ben, if you wouldn't mind, just tell us what you do on a normal Saturday evening, because I don't know if everyone's entirely aware of what your role is, sort of mid to late evening on a Saturday.
Yeah, I may be in the background of a popular entertainment football-based thing, assisting there. Should we say no more and go to that super chat from David, who's once again lavishing us with lots of euros?
You're allowed to talk about you're allowed to mention it, aren't you? David, thank you very much for as ever, your contribution. It's getting quite ridiculous. Yes. Oh, and actually, we better do one more. Look, Michael, as ever, good morning from Brisbane. So about last night really. One interesting question I got for you, Ben, from your Saturday night job, which you seem quite elusive to extrapolate on. How do stalwart championship players like Richard Keogh and Dominic Ball get a elongated run of games in this particular team?
I don't think they do they? I don't think that's the deal, really. I mean, if you take Keogh, that was something we talked about in the Telegram as, the squad being in need of just some experience. I dare say there's a couple of lads playing at Colchester who probably would have fancied having that role, but they're not around anymore. It just needed that bit of experience. In terms of Dominic Ball, what you really want that to turn into is somebody really fighting for a place. And what was your take on Ball last night, Craig?
I thought he was tidy enough, but and I say that's another thing actually. If people want to stick their own view on matters, is when Lee Evans come on, it was pretty stark. The range of passing all of a sudden, got a lot more expansive, should we say, and not necessarily quicker, but certainly we were going a lot wider, a lot quicker. Dominic Ball did what Dominic Ball does, or what we think he does from the limited viewing we've seen of him. Is he broke up play, he played it neat and tidy, a couple of like disguised passes through the middle, but what we know Lee Evans gives us is that ability to get it wide pretty quickly, and also
set plays.
The way that the match was panning out yesterday, it just needed a bit more width and a bit more energy.
Craig, we said this before Ball even arrived, that there was a hole ready for that type of player for a big away game. Maybe if McKenna could do Plymouth away again, for a midfield three, in terms of a sitter, a circulator, and Morsey seems to be more of a number 8 these days. So I'm still hopeful, and Kieran McKenna's so versatile with his sort of different outlooks. I'm still hopeful we'll see a 3 in a big game at some point.
Yeah, but it was, the Sheffield Wednesday, the last 20 minutes of Sheffield Wednesday and the last 15 of Plymouth probably did call out for him. And to be fair to McKenna and the guys on the bench, the subs in the last two matches, you can't argue with the impact
No.
that they've made. Here's a question from Michael from Down Under. Is it better for two teams to go clear or be top of a pack of 6 teams?
So if you're top of a pack of 6 teams, that would imply the standard is not generally higher or generally lower, but generally closer together in terms of all those 6 teams. Would also imply everybody's taking points off each other, wouldn't it, in terms of the geography of a league table? The obvious answer is if you're one of the 2 teams going clear, it's better to be one of the 2 teams. But, I mean, we had this amazing looking league table last year, Craig, where we would have said mathematically that's not possible for what happened to happen last year. Would have had to have that big split, that big gap in the middle. But I don't know whether we can parlay that into is it going to be 2 teams going clear? I think it's more not necessarily 6, but I think we might get 3 or 4, Craig.
Yeah, well, I've quickly popped up for the people who are watching. I've quickly popped up the league table there, and even now, you think
that
Peterborough,
fantastic, 27 points from 12 games, Craig.
Yeah, and Peterborough in 7th are on 18 points, aren't they? And also, one thing I noted last night is Sheffield Wednesday in 3rd have already lost 3 matches this year. They've played 12 games and lost 3 matches already, so they're very much a hit and miss. And obviously, Plymouth, ridiculous home record. Stupendous home record, and they've played 5 of the top. Well, the other 5 in the top. I wanted to
discuss that with you, Craig, because we have to be very humble and very honest as Ipswich fans and say, at the moment, in terms of output and results and league table, Plymouth are the best team in the league at the moment. I think a lot of us are looking at it and thinking their keeper is playing so well at the moment, and is that sustainable? Also, Plymouth's finishing. They seem to be scoring just goals from the edge of the box, smashed right into the corners. So you kind of hope when you look down at I've got the kind of spread of the league here, you don't see, if there was a column here that said game management, winning football, Plymouth would be right at the top of it. But that isn't a thing. But, when I'm looking at things like possession, we're top for that. We're top for goals. We're top for clean sheets. We're top for shots on target. And you think the thing that makes Plymouth the best team in the league at the moment is their finish and their goalie, isn't it? And you kind of hope that's not quite sustainable as an Ipswich fan, right?
Yeah, and their home form, which they've played the top 6, including us, obviously, and
they've got a superb record.
But 4 of those 5 have been at home, and the one that was away they drew, I think, either Peterborough or Portsmouth, one or the other.
It was a Pompey, but they led, didn't they? And it was a last minute. They could have. We could be sitting here saying Plymouth have played all their main rivals and beaten them all as well.
Yeah. I think it'll be interesting to see once they've turned around and started playing those teams away, see how they got there. But that won't be for probably till the turn of the year without looking at their fixtures.
By the way, Craig, about the Plymouth keeper, it can be that he doesn't drop off. He might just be exceptional and keep playing, and he's destined for big things. So it's not always great form. It's not always. They might keep rapid in shots from 20 yards in off the post every week as well.
Right in the corner of the goal. Yeah, absolutely. Rob, I hope you're feeling better very soon. But thanks for joining us. Mullet's off to Morecambe, it looks like. Mullet, as last year, you bullied Seb, Rich and I into having our photo taken with the Eric Morecambe statue. It's your turn this weekend, so I want to see that on the Blue Monday Instagram. Eric Clacton, I was there when Edward scored from the Portman Road car park. That wasn't where he abandoned his car, was it, poor sod?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's another thing as well. Gus, so happy for that guy. He's been in and out of the team. Obviously, he's more out than in. But obviously, McKenna said that he's done well the last month or so and deserves his place, which he obviously has done. But even I was at the pizza game when he got the 4 assists against Northampton. But even then, he didn't look like he was playing with a smile on his face. Whenever you see him in like the club videos and the behind the scenes bits, he's always got a smile, beaming ear to ear. But then when he's on the pitch, he always seems to be quite serious and not sort of down on himself. But that completely turned around last night. I can't believe anybody was, anything less than ridiculously happy for the guy at the end of the game.
Well, Craig, we've had this discussion before. I was talking about the lad from Villa, Philogene Bidas, and someone said, "Oh, he won't go to unnamed club because they don't play with orthodox wingers." My response was, "What the hell is an orthodox winger? Who plays 4-4-2 and wingers? Apart from Pompey played 4-4-2, didn't they? I think a couple of teams in League Two maybe play 4-4-2 and." We mentioned this with the lads on Sunday that it's not a big stretch now for a winger to just all it is the starting position. And if you play in a possession heavy team, not doing that much defending, and Cambridge, full respect to Cambridge. If I was Mark Bonner, I'd have played exactly the same system because they beat us doing it last time. But he wasn't going to do that much defending, was he, Edwards? So I think it's quite viable, to be honest, in that position.
Yeah, and as you sort of alluded to there about Cambridge, I've got no issue whatsoever with teams coming and playing like that.
God, no.
Ipswich Town.
Did you hear Bonner's interview afterwards as well, Craig?
No.
That guy speaks complete sense. He's such a good manager. They're so lucky to have him, especially considering he turned down Rotherham, and he was very much. Yeah, he was very much. We sat in, we tried to make our chances. They were very patient. They've got a much stronger bench than us, blah, blah, blah. And that's the deal. And let's be honest, Craig, when in the bad old days with Evans, as the parachute money started going up and up in the Championship, we were doing that away to teams in the Championship. And if we were promoted and, I don't know, pick a team, any team, Nottingham Forest, for example, that's how we would have to play against them next season, probably with their 15, 20 million pound signings that they've made.
Yeah, that's right. I've got no issue with it. And even the time wasting wasn't. I didn't think it was over the top. The goalkeeper was taking a bit of time, but there wasn't really any play action. No one was going down with cramp after 30 minutes. So we've seen a hell of a lot worse.
But Craig, my favourite thing about time wasting is when a team's doing it, and then the team they're doing it against scores, and then they does everything at like double quick speed just to wind everything up. That's brilliant.
Question from Chris, and not just yourself, Ben, but everyone on the chat as well. Edwards to start on Saturday, or is he suited to the cameo role from the bench? That the red cod piece hanging around his waist.
I'd be interested in your take, Craig. I'd suggest the latter at Morecambe, that the cameo role might be the one. What say you?
Yeah, possibly, and it sort of knits in with what Kirk's saying here, really, in terms of the 5 sub rule. He says that the 5 sub rule is really going to help us against teams like Cambridge who park the bus.
Yeah, and again, there's nothing wrong with parking the bus. There's a time and a place, but Kirk is right, isn't he?
Yeah, that's right. Which has made its way into the Oxford English Dictionary today, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. Yeah, with squeaky bum time as well.
Yeah, funnily enough. Or maybe McKenna Ball will be there in a few
yes,
years.
Please.
But yeah, I think, and that was sort of one of the points I was going to get to, or trying to get to, or ask people about, is with the Dominic Ball starting the match. Obviously, bringing Lee Evans on and Edwards on with whether it was 20 minutes to go, turned the match. We won the match within 2 or 3 minutes of them being on the pitch. Is that by virtue of Dominic Ball having done his job and kept Cambridge's counter-attacks at bay by just sniffing them out at source? Is that because Freddie Ladapo had already done done the donkey work and softened them up? And
McKenna made the same point that John-Jules got the goal this time after Ladapo softened the defence up, and at the weekend John-Jules softened the defence up and Ladapo came in. So and this is very popular now, this starters and finishers ideology about players. But if you've got a world famous pop star funneling in money via sponsorship that's usable, then have a nice squad.
Yeah, exactly. Tractor Factor, don't want to speak too soon, but we might have finally found an answer to our left side in Leif Davis. Yes, player of the month, I believe Leif Davis wasn't he, for September. Yeah, he was being marked pretty tightly last night, certainly for the first half. But again, the ball wasn't getting out to him maybe quite as quick as it does do when Lee Evans is on the pitch. But he's an outlet, and he's maybe not going to produce the same sort of numbers that Wes Burns did last year, but he just gives us that lovely balance. And he's taking balls on the run. He's getting into the box. He's now starting to take corners from both sides as well. He had a header from a Wes Burns cross that Burns had dinked to the far post, and he came in flying from the far side. So I'd imagine from his perspective as well, he's probably thinking, yeah, I actually made I've dropped down 2 divisions, but I've made a decent choice here career-wise.
Funny, Craig, the guy who's trained with Bielsa can move the ball really quickly and is okay in tight spaces, yeah?
Yeah, and can also run up and down the pitch a lot.
All day, yeah, right. No,
Yeah.
but Burns is a fascinating player. Someone was talking to me about Crooks for Middlesbrough, who used to play for Rotherham, who's basically a one-off. He's, he's a big lump, and he's just a finisher. Gets in the box and heads and finishes. Burns is like a wing-back who's a finisher, whereas you won't see Burns doing the type of intricate build. That's not his game. But it's nice to have the two different threats down either side, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Burns just needs to, we're not going to ask him to produce the numbers that he did last year, but he does seem to be starting to get back into the swing of things. There's a few options last night in the first half, especially down where me and Dave sit, where he was sort of regressing back to early Burns, where he was like slamming crosses across or not necessarily getting his head up to pick someone out. But as the game went on, then he was getting better at it. Maybe he learned that off Gareth Bale when he went away with.
But Craig, we're top of the division for goals per 90. So Wes Burns does not need to score 12 goals or whatever it was from right wing back. It's Chaplin 6, Harness 4, Ladapo 2, Jackson 2, Edwards 2, Evans 2, Morsey 2, John-Jules 2. Jesus, Burns 2. How many teams do you reckon in the league have got more multiple goal scorers than that? None, I reckon. Other than Manchester City, probably.
Yeah, and with our goal difference is now plus 15, 5 ahead of the next best, I believe.
So we can all shut up about a 20-goal striker now, can't we?
Well, yeah, until such time as we're drawing 0-0 rather than winning 3-0. FPL Tractor, did Edwards mean it? No, he didn't. Next question. Do you think that, from Michael, do you think the players are calm, unlike me, when we have not scored after 60-odd minutes? I think they are, Michael. And as I said, the crowd was as well. And I appreciate you may not have been able to pick it up on iFollow and things like that from down under, but certainly around near me, there were a couple of blokes chatting to get it in the mixer or something like that. But on the whole, it was just seemed to be supportive. The crowd just kept going. They didn't get on anyone's back. It was just a question of just keep going, and we'll get there. I think probably that impetus of the subs, Evans and Edwards, helped matters, and obviously their almost immediate impact helped matters as well.
Well,
Charlie
they say,
D.
Craig, sorry to interrupt. When you're on a plane, the only time you should not be relaxed is if you see the air stewardesses and stewards not relaxed, because if they're panicking, panic. And I think Kieran McKenna, in terms of that calming influence, that's kind of his thing, isn't it? Have you heard Wade Elliott, the Cheltenham manager, speak? I think he's even more laid back and calm than Kieran McKenna is. But no, he exudes calmness, doesn't he?
And they done us a favour last night by beating Bolton.
They very much did, yeah.
Charlie D, yeah. Freddie put a great shift in last night. I think he did. And also, that's another thing. I know it's a funny old night in the last pizza game where the few people that were splattered around the North Stand were taking the mickey out of him a little bit. But I thought, again, the crowd were pretty supportive of him. And when he went off, he got almost entire standing ovation from the crowd. Just, they're starting to understand, as you said, Ben, maybe he's not there to score 20 goals a season. Maybe he is there to hold it up and bash people around for a bit and chase down and harry and start the press up high, because when the second half started, they just could not get out of their half. They were clearing the ball, it coming straight to us. Edmondson and Wolfenden were nicking the ball, coming straight back again. It was just the whole game was played within 50 yards of their goal, and that all starts from Ladapo running around like an idiot up front and putting them under pressure.
I was there a few times, Craig, at Sheffield United when they were doing the McBurney scores. We were on the pitch, and he then scores 5 in 5, and he's jumping in the stands, and he's a cult hero all over again. So I think sometimes a bit of gallows humour, especially if there's a defeat or something of the like, can be taken out of context rather quickly.
Yeah, I think as long as it's taken in the right, it's given in the right manner, and it's accepted in the right way. Chris has given us an update. Haaland 6 minutes. Well, that's just different world we're talking about there, Chris. Here from Adam. We hear a lot about refs not doing anything about time wasting, but has anyone done the analysis of how much extra time is being added on to the end of matches this season to compensate? Well, there wasn't that much last night. I think there's only 1 minute in the first half and 4 minutes in the second. But as I say, I didn't think, from my perspective, it was overly obvious that Cambridge were wasting much time. It's probably reflected in that. Whereas there was 7 or so minutes, I think, on after the match or at the end of the match on Saturday. Yeah.
I think we're getting there with that, Craig, because I think whatever anybody did in the past, it was always 4 minutes, and if now and then you'd see 5 minutes go up. Now we do get 7s and 8s, and rightly so. I will say, love Ipswich fans, love the chat and everything. I go to a lot of games as a neutral. Without question, if a team is winning and the ball goes up and it's a high number, everyone complains that it's too high. If a team is losing, the ball goes up with the same number. So I do think of football fans, and in terms of controlling one's emotion, if they're losing, they want the biggest number possible, and if they're winning, they want the smallest number possible, regardless of what's happened. And I've said this on the pod many times, unless you go to a 40-minute halves, or what would they be, 30-minute halves even, and a stop clock system every time the ball goes out of play, it just is what it is, and it just needs policing as best as possible.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll ever get to that, because TV will dictate that they need games to know when a game's going to finish. You can't have Sky putting away a certain amount of time for a match to be on, and the referee's stopping it every 30 seconds, and the game's going on into.
And someone's paid 200 grand for an advert to play before 10 p.m. Right?
Yeah, exactly that. Lee's a little bit harsh here, Lee, isn't it? Surely I forgot ball was playing. Well, it wasn't really, I suppose, the game for him, was it? I know the guys, and we spoke about it last week, about Lee Evans being the guy you want to be on the pitch when you're going to have a lot of possession. But it probably just came to the point whereby we do need to get Dominic Ball a game of football somewhere along the line that's not against Northampton stiffs or Arsenal kids, isn't it?
And McKenna was very plain, Craig, in saying, I think he said he passed through the lines constantly. So he's arguing in that comment that in a crowded game, he's a good guy. Sometimes it's difficult for us fans to spot these simple balls through the lines, but they make all the difference against the low block, don't they? Yeah,
they do. And it's quite interesting, actually. Yeah, everyone just needs to listen to McKenna and what he says post-match and before matches, because, excuse me, he was talking about, and then I think it was the in-house interview after the match, about the crowd staying with them and being patient and things like that. And McKenna was saying that, there are some times where we have to come backwards, and we will intentionally pass it all the way back to the defence to try and draw the opposition out away from their goal a little bit, to allow us to then quickly get back there again. Now, they're not doing it just to be boring. There is going to be, trust us, there is a reason behind every single thing we do under Kieran McKenna.
And let's be honest, I'm not saying any of us are hoodwinked by this, but a man in a leadership position praising fans, customers, for their intelligence, for doing what he wants them to do, is psychological messaging to the fans. Oh, they get it. They know we have to be patient, and they were bang on side with us. It's all very sort of smart, as opposed to I don't know, sticking your fingers up at your own supporters. I don't know if we would ever have a manager who would dare to do that.
That'd be suicide.
Slightly confrontational.
Career suicide to tell your own fans to F off, surely.
Turned out that way, didn't it, actually?
Mullet, yeah. Ball was very good at recycling possession and allowing us to shift sideways. Yeah, yeah. It's what he
Agreed.
did. It'll be quite interesting once suspensions start kicking in and maybe an injury here or there starts kicking in. How, as you say, Ben, whether we do go to a 3 or whether we somehow get 2 out of the 3 that we've got. We've still got Panucci Kamara to
Yeah, someone mentioned him up in the
squeeze in, but
chat.
it
Yeah.
seems to be gone a little bit quiet in regards to him.
And remember, I know we're quite wedded to the back three, but remember, if you're having a lot of possession in the game, you can 4-3-3 it as well, and drop out a centre back and still play high fullbacks if you're up against a low block. So there's many ways to skin a cat, which is a horrible turn of phrase. I don't know why I said it.
But yeah, there is. Wes Burns isn't playing wing back now, is he? He's playing as one of a 3 behind a central striker now. It's pretty much that from the very beginning now. Donatian is now playing as a right back, although maybe a slightly narrow right back, if you like. Just a quick one from Mike. Ladapo impressed him last night, much to his son's delight. Not really had the same opinion so far. Yeah, I suppose it's quite interesting. He had a club interview, didn't he, where he was sort of talking about the struggles that he'd had to get up to speed, and it's a pretty stark change of style of football from coming from Rotherham to Ipswich. I would have thought in terms of the
again, Craig, can I raise the fact we're top in the league for goals per 90? I know a lot of people, and Gary Neville's quite good at bringing this up. Graham Souness as well is quite like this. A lot of people are still wedded to the idea you're only as good as your strikers, and a good team has a striker who scores loads of goals. It's just not a thing anymore, isn't it? You see plenty of teams share them all out, and it doesn't all funnel through the 1 or 2 as it used to be strikers.
Yeah, here we are. We've got Nat, who I'm going to
I
assume.
know Nat. Do you know Nat has a bar in his garden, Craig?
Is that? Oh, well, let's go to Nat's
well,
then.
In a shed in his garden.
I assume Nat's a Sheffield Wednesday fan rather than
he's a Wednesday, yeah.
Steve Whitten fan, and his badge. Yeah, let us know now. How are you guys getting on? You say you've lost 3 of your first, how many, 10, 12 games, whatever it is. Is it a question of just trying to win more than you lose, or do you need some sort of, I don't know, stability going forward to stay in the top 3 or 4? Alex saying here there was space on both flanks that was exploited more when Evans came on. Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was good. Not that ball was bad by any stretch. Andy, McKenna's home record now reads 111, drawn 5, lost 1. Is it fair to say Portman Road is becoming a fortress again? And could we go unbeaten at home all season?
Well, I take Leyton Orient as the example the other day, where everyone was coming out with the best start in the 4th tier of all time. They're going to get 100 points, set a load of records. Next game, Newport at home, lose 2-1. So, yeah, we might go unbeaten for a fair wee while. I don't like the idea of Derby and Paul Warne on the 21st of October. I have to say he has form of knowing how to beat us at Portman Road, doesn't he? But I don't think we'll go unbeaten at home all season, and it might be hopefully not Cheltenham for reasons we can say when plugging our wonderful live event. But no, I don't. Well, I don't see an 23 unbeaten streak at home.
I think you can probably afford to lose 1 or 2, can't you, at home, if you really want to, create that image of a fortress. You can probably get away with 1 or 2, but we might as well talk about it while you mentioned Cheltenham, Ben. 12th of November. We are doing a live.
Completely wrong on Sunday. I got the wrong date.
Oh, I said 12th of Cheltenham last time I was on.
Oh, okay. 12th of November.
Yeah, 12th of November, after the Cheltenham game, live pod from the Sir Bobby Robson suite, I believe, at Portman Road. Tickets available from Blue Monday ITFC.co.uk. So yeah, please come along, say hello, enjoy yourselves. I believe the doors are at 7:30. Carriages, don't know when that'll be, 11ish maybe. That's what they say, isn't it, on wedding invites?
They do, Carriages. Yeah, they
do. Nat's just commented here. Wednesday are incomplete at the minute. Very frustrating. Yeah,
Yeah,
How reliant are you on Barry Bannon, Nat? Let us know that.
They do give you the idea of a very good squad with a manager who has had a couple of unconvincing seasons in a couple of places and one really good season at Doncaster. Still don't trust him.
No, I think everyone's got that sort of feeling. I'm sure the Wednesday fans have also got that. They always just seem to be on edge of turning, don't they, on him? From Lee here says that he doesn't believe it will last for Plymouth. They fell away last season. Injuries come, the same will happen. Flim Flam on the back of that saying that maybe the Plymouth squad's a bit thin, but expects them to be there or thereabouts.
Can I just push back on Flim Flam a little bit? I have been impressed with, going to Wickham and sticking Cosgrove up front. And I think Schumacher said that Wednesday came with a different shape and then changed shape. And, they like Mumba had been one of the best players and they took him out for the Wickham game. So I accept it's not a huge 25-man squad, but they're using it well and they're finding different solutions. But I do agree that there is some sense of overperformance, particularly on the goalie, who's just fantastic.
Well, yeah, and as going heavy on the Nat comments here, but he's saying there Cooper was brilliant last night against them. So, as you said, Ben, how long can that last? Maybe it will last all season. They're home, an undisputable home record, and a goalkeeper who's going to keep them in the games, and they'll end up scoring 92nd minute winners for the rest of the season. Who knows? Ipswich, that's a name I recognise. Can't place it though. West Bromwich Albion losing already. This may be a little bit out of date. Sorry, Rich, I'm a bit tardy. 10 or 12 minutes away. Is your Bruce out video in the can, Ben?
I'm getting quite annoyed about all these championship jobs going because Liam Manning was the name that used to get linked with all of them last season, and MK have fallen off the cliff, haven't they? And now our lovely manager's getting linked with all of them. So we could do without any more championship sackings, but they're as sure as the sun coming up, aren't they, at the moment?
Yeah, and that's interesting actually, because I was chatting about that last night with a mate, Glenn, who I sit with. Is exactly that question. What level of job will need to be available to actually turn McKenna's head? Southampton, is it going to be a Southampton level job?
And I think we need to be humble about it. That Ipswich fans can't sit here and say McKenna's the bee's knees and then get a little bit overprotective when he gets linked with other jobs. The two things go together. And can I quote someone from Love Island?
You can, but it'll go right over my head.
Well, I remember the guy saying, "No, you want other guys to fancy your girl. Who wants a girl that nobody else fancies? But you got to put up with it, hey."
There you go. If there's a motto in life, you need to get that tattooed across your chest, Ben.
I'm not going to be doing that. This one was bloody painful enough, I tell you. No thanks.
One from Gary. Unbelievable that when we get 3 points on Saturday, that's
stop it, Gary.
30 points on the board. Morecambe last year we had 27 shots, came away with a 1-1 draw. This year we have a much better squad.
And Morecambe stink this season as well. I know you're not going to want to hear me saying that, but they really suck at the moment, don't they?
Yeah, they are.
And the boys will go over that
yes.
on the.
I think it's out Friday. I don't know if it's live this week. I think Dave and Rich are recording, I believe, for Friday night. Question here from Nat: who has the best squad? Who has the best team? And who has the best manager in League One? And that's to everyone. Yeah, let's stick some answers in there. I think. Well, I'm not going to say anything.
Well, in terms of output, Plymouth have the best team at the moment, don't they? Because they're just winning everything they do. I would like to think, though, we would be close on all three categories for sure. Sometimes I look at other squads, Wednesday maybe, and you think, oh, there's a bit of depth there. But then I also think our squad seems to be a bit more bespoke for what we're trying to do. So, I'm sure you'll get a lot of answers in the chat saying we're top for all three of those categories. But yeah, need to get to the top of the table. Though.
It is interesting about the manager, though, isn't it? And I suppose it's also interesting that not necessarily, Ipswich will argue that yes, we do have the best manager, but it may be that it will be Bonner from Cambridge, or it may be Schumacher from Plymouth, are the ones that do actually move on by virtue of.
But Craig, sorry to interrupt. It feels like Schumacher's doing great and he's bigging up his own tactical innovations at the moment. Fine, good luck to him. He's top of the league. That feels like just a very well-run club that is doing the right things in terms of financials and recruitment, and he's on the top of it. You can almost argue that someone like Bonner or Taylor, who's just left, Exeter, and if I don't know if Wade Elliott finishes halfway up with Cheltenham, or whatever, you can almost argue that when they're going against Sheffield Wednesday, Ipswich, etc., that's actually harder to do than what McKenna's been asked to do at Ipswich. But then I suppose there's the pressure and the expectation of what McKenna and Moore and Cowley, etc., Peterborough as well. There's expectation there too.
Yeah, well, I suppose Schumacher as well. He was just a continuation of what was already in place, wasn't he? I suppose as well, rather than to a certain extent, McKenna's started from scratch, hasn't he? Albeit with a very decent squad, he's had to build up from very low. David Diamond.
Oh,
don't think I can remember 2 consecutive games where subs have made such an impact. Spot on, Ben, about Bonner. Thought he spoke brilliantly afterwards.
Never need to add anything to anything Diamond says. It would just be a little pearl of wisdom, wouldn't it?
Pearl's a singer. Saturday could be a similar game to last night, says Stephen. Edwards on the bench for him.
I agree with Stephen.
Yeah, Michael says McKenna likes to have subs on the bench that can play more than one position if they come on, making our bench even bigger. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, Kyle Edwards has proven that in the last month or so.
If anyone wants to discuss how big a bench can be and how much do goals weigh, move on.
And some more. Oh, Jules is here. Hello, good evening to you, Jules. Saying hello to the other pod guys who are around. Romeo, yeah, here we were talking about this earlier. Anyone know how close Kamara is to fitness? We might need him soon with suspensions inevitable. Yeah, he has gone a little bit quiet. I'm sure that the guys will be asking him in the press conference and that, but it just doesn't seem to be reported.
There's another one for your midfield 3, Craig.
Yeah, exactly. Christopher, yeah, we wear teams down, then bring on the subs to win the games. That's certainly the way things are moving at the moment, isn't it? And you say everyone's playing their part, and you can tell from the atmosphere around the club, after the match with the guys on the pitch, that even the subs who aren't being brought on are still fully involved with the celebrations and the.
You have a feeling though, Craig, that's going to be harder to do in the big games, isn't it? The real vital ones. Okay, if you're against a stacked defence against a team with fewer resources, yeah, that can really make a difference. But it becomes more of a marginal game when you're away at Sheffield Wednesday or wherever.
Yeah. Lee's getting involved in the chat about the Nats question about the squads. He thinks that Wednesday and us have the best squads, but does think that McKenna is the best coach stroke manager. Eric says that thought Davis looked tired last night. Unfortunately, for Greg Lee, he's not going to be there to come on and sprint around like a madman for the last 30, which he was. I know everyone said it. I'm so impressed with Lee. He's been a fantastic signing. Poor guy just not getting
on the squads,
much.
Craig, can I just elucidate on a point Dave made about Bolton's strikers? I've just brought it up. In terms of being stacked in one area, Bodvarsson, Kachunga, Charles, Bakayoko, and Afolayan. So there are certain squads where there's a lot of strength in one position, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mallett's here talking about goals and the way that they're being spread around the various members of the team, 10 to 15 each by the end of the season. You would hope that crikey, I'll say the central striker, but you got Ladapo, John-Jules, maybe not Jackson, but Chaplin, Harness. They're all on target to get double figures, aren't they, at the moment this season?
Would be fantastic, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Gary's saying here, surely if one team is time wasting and the other team is winning at 90 minutes, the rest should have discretion to end immediately.
Good luck with that one in court, Gary. But yeah, I know where he's coming from.
Yeah, let's introduce moral judgment into a referee's repertoire, shall we? Yeah, you've been acting like shithouses for the last 89 minutes. Tough. I'm going to blow the whistle now. We can all go and have a shower.
If you're seeing any dubious comments in the chat, that's a robot. Please ignore them, and no one will mention them again.
Michael here. I thought Morsey had a really good game last night. Covered so much ground between the two boxes, pressing Cambridge all over the pitch. Yeah, he did, but he's been a bit quiet, I think, to my eyes. Obviously, we're probably just used to him being here, there, and everywhere. But I just think maybe last night it's because he was with not an unknown partner, but a partner who hasn't played with much this season. I thought he did once Lee Evans come on. Everyone just seemed to know what they were up to and what they were doing. Lee's saying here that us and Wednesday will have a couple of hiccups on the way. Overall, both clubs should be up there. Other teams don't have the squads that we do, and that's why they usually start dropping. Yeah, we are still, quarter of the way into the season, isn't it? And we've all got a lot of games coming in October, but so I think once people start playing each other for the second time, once you get to that turn of the year, I'd be really interested to know how Plymouth get on once they start playing those teams higher up the division in the away legs away from Home Park. You know, is it still called Home Park? Or is there some?
I believe so. Yeah.
Sponsorship deal.
No.
FPL. Surely the Aztec Kamara will be aiming at the Pizza Cup game. Yeah, hopefully so.
Aztec Camera.
Yeah, Dave and I were singing Aztec Camera this time last week.
Excellent.
Well, only two. We can only get to two of their songs.
Well, what about the Aztec Zone on Crystal Maze?
Yes.
That was always good, wasn't it?
Yeah. I like a bit of Crystal Maze. The original, not. Well, that links, doesn't it? Because it was what's his name? Tudor, wasn't it? What's the guy's name?
Tenpole Tudor.
Tenpole Tudor, wasn't it? He was
I was trying to get a link to the industrial zone and the industrial football, maybe played by Cambridge and Morecambe, or maybe the medieval football played by us at times. So there we go. Move on.
Question from Mullet. Did Steve Whitton ever score a goal as good as Edwards? He put in a few crosses like Edwards put in that cross last night. Don't be like that, Mullet. Look, we're top.
Yeah, but you've bitten now, haven't you?
Nat's going to come to my rescue because Nat would have seen. Nat's probably still in mourning that they sold Steve Whitton to us back way back when.
Just mentioned Chris Waddle to him. I think they can gazump us on wingers there.
Yeah, Mick Mills was talking about Chris Waddle. Was it last night?
Oh, was he?
Yeah, because he was saying that. Forgive me, it wasn't last night, but I listened to him on the way home, and it's either last night or Saturday evening. He was talking about Chris Waddle and Chris Waddle being a right-footed player. Was he right-footed or left-footed? Left-footed player playing on the right, and he could not play on the left. He could only play on the right. And
but you still didn't know which way he was going to go, though, did you?
No, you couldn't. But he didn't have the ability to play with on the left-hand side because he couldn't knock it past his defender with the outside of his left foot. He could only drag it with the inside of his left foot down the wing. Quite interesting, actually. I know Mick doesn't. He rubs people up the wrong way sometimes with the way he talks rather than what he says.
But what he says is
concentrate on what he's saying.
Gems, yeah, absolutely. Go on.
Yeah, absolutely. Disappointed with Sheffield's dark arts last night at Plymouth, is Graham. Was that by virtue of them scoring, not being able to hold out for the 92 or 93 minutes, whatever it was? That
I think there was an odd disallowed goal in that may or may not have crossed the line.
Really? Ipswich has confirmed carriages are at 10 p.m.
But the quiz starts at 11, yeah?
November the 12th, post Cheltenham, Blue Monday, ITFC. .co.uk. That's off. He's saying good luck to Ipswich. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Adam, agree with Ben and not with Craig.
Stop there then. Perfect.
No. Actually, I'm going to get rid of that comment. Ball in play for 35 minutes. Answer. Commercial TV is important, but they manage it for rugby.
Yeah, fair comment.
Are they quite the same sponsorship deals and viewing figures for rugby?
They get 100 million quid TV money in the Rugby Premier League.
Romeo, Cooper is a top keeper, but I wouldn't swap him for Walton, best keeper in League One. Well, yeah, I know, and I know Joe was saying something similar in one of the groups that we're in.
They're both very good at the moment,
They
aren't
are
they?
both very good,
Yeah.
absolutely. Andy's saying here that Hassan Hootle's on the brink at Saints. I do just wonder. Lee, I like this. I'm all over this. Morecambe need to wise up. Don't know where wise comes into it, but it's good enough for me. Eric Clacton reckons McKenna will be here for a long time. Well, I suppose
I don't.
Do you not?
Hopefully pass. But no. He's look. If he's
What constitutes
promoted,
a long time?
I mean, the context is king, isn't it? If he were to get us promoted and then have a good start, and all of a sudden you're straight into the middle of the championship, then I don't know. It depends who comes along, but it could change. He could plateau. He could level out. But at the moment, his trajectory looks up, doesn't it?
Yeah. No, they've done a good. But then, would you trust Ashton et al. To find someone of a similar status?
Right now, I would. Yeah.
Bring him in. Yeah. Is it even though his stock's probably fallen a fair bit, Liam Manning may well still be in the frame, or they've probably got hopefully someone.
Ashton was, and I mean, I don't know if he was kind of self-publicising a bit, but he was very keen to say we track managers all the time. So I think you have to accept that if you're not a trophy-winning club and you're performing well, someone will want to take your manager off you. That just is the way it is, sadly.
Yeah, that's right. And I suppose that's part of his job and part of the whole club's backroom staff's job is to know to not only have I can't remember the phrases, but not only to have a group of players, succession planning, but in terms of groups of players, who can replace this player. Wes Burns gets £4 million bid. We've got 2 or 3 right wingers lined up. If Kieran McKenna goes, we've got 2 or 3.
Well, and Craig, you also want that situation Cambridge has just had with Bonner, where a lot of people look at it and go, Rotherham job, I'd take that, have a go in the Championship. But you have the manager going, hey, you know what, I'll stay put. I like it where I am. That's what you want, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I think, to be fair, you couldn't think that, well, better than I in terms of Championship jobs that you could walk into and have the same level of security and confidence behind the scenes that you're going to get backed regardless how
I think someone tweeted, Craig, I don't know if you saw it, Mick Beale at QPR came in July. I think he's the 11th longest serving manager. So that's something ridiculous like that, because literally 8 have changed jobs.
Yeah. Rob's saying here, with Morsey being 1 card away from a suspension, should he just scythe someone down on Saturday so that he's good to go against Derby? Well, I don't think we need to worry about him scything someone down. That's probably going to happen in any case. But yeah, possibly to miss the Lincoln game, I suppose. And is it Lincoln?
I think you said it before, Craig. There's just the deal with Morsey. You're going to miss him for probably 7 games in the season, because we get the 3-game and then the 4-game suspension after. Just is what it is. But if you take that, everyone used to say that about Rooney, didn't they? Oh, you take the edge away from him, he wouldn't be
half the player.
He wouldn't be half the player. And we'd like Morsey to be half the player Rooney was, for sure.
Romeo, I'm all over this as well. Morecambe are making all the right moves, but not necessarily in the right order. Andre preview, Romeo, Mike's agreeing with Dave here about Bonner.
Good manager.
He's post-match.
Is he like 30? Is he just slightly older than McKenna?
Well, he's certainly older, isn't he? Because McKenna's the youngest in the league, isn't he?
But I think Bonner, Manning, and McKenna are all like 36, 37, aren't they? Someone check that for us in the chat.
Yeah. And he's been there. He was like Cambridge under-8s manager, wasn't he? Way back then. So obviously he's a Cambridge fan, etc., etc. Flim Flam seems to think that Kamara's had surgery expected at Christmas time.
He has had surgery, yeah. I think that's correct, yeah.
I saw, speaking of surgery, I saw the photo of the club out today of Cameron Burgess, poor old guy. My God, he was obviously doing some foundation or kids camp type thing. But yeah, he's got a bit of swelling, shall we say.
I reckon I'd like have a year off work if that happened. That's what makes me laugh when players go down injured and I see people giving him stick in the crowd that would literally have 3 weeks off work, and then the professional footballer jumps up 3 minutes later and plays on.
Yeah, walks off the pitch with half his face caved in, gets in his car and drives to hospital. Fair
I
play.
remember Sean Raggett, who played against us for Pompey the other day, playing for Rotherham in that. Do you remember that ridiculous game that Paul Lambert actually won, where Rotherham literally had an XG of about 17 and didn't score? And Sean Raggett, they tried to reset his tooth and then had to pull it out. It was right in front of me in the pie, and it was horrible. Oh,
No,
sorry.
no, I don't like the sound of that. Andrew's asking if the press conferences are ever put on in full on
Used
YouTube.
to be on Facebook.
Yeah, I don't think the whole press conferences are, were they? They were for a little, weren't they? Lambert's were for a little bit. I think that may have been a COVID thing where, because they were all being done on Zoom, they then just
Stuart and
extended
Andy
it out.
pushed for it with Mick, and they eventually relented. And then, COVID, and I think a certain manager of ours getting a bit grumpy with everything, and off limits.
Yeah. Lewis is just going back to last night. Evans being the real game changer. His effortless ability to switch play. Yeah, it did. It took him a couple of passes, didn't it, to get his radar going? But once he did, you really did see the impact he has. And fair play to the guy. When Ball came in, everyone was assuming that it would be Ball and Morsey being that centre midfield partnership. But the way that we play at the moment, it's pretty integral to having Lee Evans there doing exactly as Lewis states, really. Question from Chris. Do we think Cameron Humphreys will get a start or place on the bench against some of the lesser teams in the next few weeks?
Careful, Chris.
What's a lesser team, Chris?
Yeah. Well, anyone other than Plymouth, because they're all below us in the table. There you go, Chris. I don't think so, no.
No,
or
I
we
don't
might
think
get
so.
5 and 10 minutes at the end if we're 2 goals up.
Yeah. Tony's urging everyone to watch the entire match back again from last night. So
that's the level of commitment and expertise we have from our correspondents here.
Tony, if you want to save everyone the trouble, if you do it, watch it back yet again, and sort of calculate how much he ran around, then it'll save everyone the job. Here we go. It's one for you, Ben. From Rob, how would you say this Ipswich side compares with a mid-table championship side? Really feel this side could potentially do well, but I may be getting carried away.
I know where. Sorry, who's commenting? Rob. I know where Rob is coming from, and if you take the example of Sunderland, who I think, if we're all being humble, we would agree are probably slightly bigger in terms of how they're perceived and fan base, etc., than we are. But if you go in with momentum, everyone's sort of like, oh, okay, Sunderland, they'll do it right. They'll finish somewhere in the middle. It would need work, but we've mentioned it a few times, Craig. In the Championship, if you can maintain competence and avoid chaos, there will always be 6, 7, 8 teams who will fire their manager, who will completely tear everything up and be worse than a team that's just steady. But I mean, if you go in the middle of the Championship, you will see, and they may not stay there, you'll see Sunderland 8th, Wigan 10th, and Rotherham 12th. We had this on Sunday as well, Craig. I think they'll all drop a little bit, but I know what he's saying with a fair wind, momentum, and the manager not being pilfered by anybody.
Lee saying here that somewhere in his heart he thinks Kamara will shine.
Somewhere in my heart.
Yeah. And Graham saying here that Kamara is a machine. It certainly is. It's a machine which captures images of a moment in time, isn't it? An optical machine. Appropriate if. Oh look, no, Flim Flam. You've gone and Googled Aztec Camera discography there and come up with some random B-side from.
Do you think Flim Flam cheats at hurdle, Craig, like you got accused of?
God, dear, I don't know. I wouldn't know how to cheat on hurdle. That's the truth.
I think we all just enjoy how much the accusation winds you up, though.
Jules reckons that K-Mac is here for 3 seasons, at least 3 seasons.
I hope so.
If we get promoted to the champ this year, he will want the challenge. And as I say, if you think of everything that's in the background, and all the structure he's got, and the goodwill and the backing, it's going to have to be a pretty special championship club to.
Oh, it'd have to be a parachute team.
Mirror that.
Yeah.
No, but by virtue of a parachute club, the pressure's just through the roof, isn't it,
No,
to get
you're
them
right
back
about
up?
that. I just think I think fans get very overprotective over their manager and their players being linked with other clubs, and I think a certain amount of cognitive dissonance kicks in a little bit when you realistically, we talked about Watford, and I know it's really worked out in the worst way for Rob Edwards, but who can blame a young manager for backing themselves and having a go?
Yeah, no, absolutely. But then, if you got the chance to go from, no disrespect to Exeter, but from Exeter to
Yeah,
Rotherham's a hell of a jump, isn't it? Fair play. If people want to um, remind themselves of various footballing injuries, Jules has put a comment in there about David Johnson, the original David Johnson. I won't put it up on the screen because I didn't realise Jules was a medical man, but he's going into some detail about the injury that
oh,
that David Johnson
I've just seen it.
experienced.
Yeah,
I'll leave him to that. Chris saying he's not worried about losing McKenna. He's sold on the project. He's a bright guy, plenty of time ahead of him in the game, young family, etc., etc. Well, that's the hope, isn't it, Chris? But the Premier League's a completely different beast, isn't it? If Southampton do come calling, then it's a slightly different question to answer, isn't it?
I just think as a fan of a team that's manager might be sought after, you have to be very open-minded to how they would see it as opposed to how you would see it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I want
Right.
I want Chris to be right.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But I think you do sometimes just have to a couple of steps backwards, don't you, and look at it from a slightly different perspective.
Again, can I go to the hot girl analogy? Blokes are going to chat her up. Deal with it. Be strong mentally.
But I don't even know where to go with that one. And
Good.
I'm not going to go all woke on you, mate. But it's not just blokes that could chat
There
her
you
up.
go.
Right. And on that, we're going to probably knock this on the head very soon. It's been over an hour, and now we're getting into re-quoting Love Island
I'm quoting myself, quoting Love Island.
quotes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Um,
we're bottomed
just
out.
quickly, one from Andrew. Are there any first team players you think could not handle Championship football,
Oh, that's harsh.
or are there any that I do sometimes think this myself? Actually, when you watch the guys celebrating things like that, and let's just pick, for example, Freddie Ladapo. Would he?
Yeah, he's not
Because
done it at championship level.
well, he's gone up to the Championship and he's dropped down. In the summer, he dropped back down to League One to play for us rather than have a go at the
It's
Championship.
Craig.
Obviously, if money's involved.
It's difficult sometimes because a lot of it depends on the team that you're playing in, and they always used to. That lad who played left back for Spain, Capdevila, has 2 World Cups and a European or 2 European Championships and a World Cup, and is he one of the world's greatest players of all time? No. Was he in a very good team? So sometimes it matters on the team, but yeah, look, there's a lot of players who've never been in the Championship. There's you even argue the likes of Chaplin was, bombed out from Barnsley, who were ultimately relegated. Walton was. I remember Walton dropping an absolute rick for. Was it Wigan? He was on loan at in the rain where Freddie Sears hit a shot at Portman Road and it skimmed through. Am I thinking of the right Walton? But hopefully they all go up together on a good moment in a good side and all rise to the level together.
Yeah, and they're all predominantly of the right age, aren't they? There's a big clump of them who are all
True.
in their peak, approaching their peak years, hopefully as footballers. Romeo, we're not going to end on this because it's a bit of a downer, but he's saying if we don't go up this season, it could trigger an exodus of manager and key players. Fingers crossed it doesn't happen.
Of course it could.
Well,
Yeah, of course it could.
let's hope so. Right, as I say, we're gonna knock this on the head now, fellas, guys and girls. Rich and Dave, I'm sure it's Rich and Dave, are doing the pre-match show this week. I believe it's going out on Friday. It may not be live, but please have a look for that. As I said before about the live show, post Cheltenham, get your tickets. Blue Monday, ITFC.co.uk. Ben, have you got anything to add?
All I've got to add is that everyone should hit that like button if you're watching right now. Really, smash that like button. Algorithm. Is that spelled correctly? Yeah, well done, Flim Flam. But thank you everybody for joining us. It's fun when you're winning, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Right, lovely. Thanks a lot, everyone. Have a good week or rest of the week. And if you're going up to Morecambe, safe travels, etc.
Very safe travels. Yeah, long way.
And yeah, we'll see you soon.